Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I warmly thank my honourable friend for Sheffield Central for securing this very much needed debate. And it is very much needed because despite the fact that we have discussed the need for a ban on settlement trade on numerous occasions in this chamber, despite the fact that colleagues from across the House have repeatedly called on the government to ban settlement trade, for the past 2 years we have heard nothing from this government except excuses on this matter. And this is simply unacceptable because we are complicit in this country. Failing to ban settlement trade means that money from Britain is actively supporting the perpetuation of the illegal occupation of Palestinian lands. And this is a matter where the clock is ticking. We debated just last week the E1 settlement expansion. This expansion will put to death any prospect of a two-state solution, any prospect of a lasting peace in Israel and Palestine if it is not stopped. And so the government has an obligation to do everything within their power to pressure the Israeli government to stop the illegal expansion of illegal settlements, the violence that goes along with it. There's a moral obligation. There's an international legal obligation too. 2 years ago, the ICJ issued an opinion stating this very clearly. But one of the excuses we repeatedly hear from the government is that this is only advisory. But we have UN resolutions, we have UN commissions of inquiry who state this is a very clear legal obligation on the UK government to do everything possible to not provide material support to illegal occupation. That is a clear international legal obligation as well as a moral obligation. And yet we hear two excuses repeated by this government. One, that we can't do this alone. We have to work in concert. We heard that yet again last week from the Foreign Office Minister. We heard it a year ago, in June last year, when I raised this precise issue with the Foreign Office Minister in a debate I led on tackling Israeli genocide in Gaza. And at that point, he said, and I quote, "At the moment, no European power bans settlement trade in the way she describes. It is something that we talk to our partners and allies about. But since then, as we have heard, Spain has implemented a ban. The Netherlands, Belgium, Ireland, possibly the entire EU. These are our neighbours and partners, moving far faster than we ourselves. And yet we, the UK, bears a specific historical responsibility for this situation. How is it that our government is abdicating this responsibility and enabling the perpetuation of a situation that will actively counteract the thing they themselves did last year, i.e. declare their recognition of the state of Palestine? So that is one excuse from the government, that we need to work together, and yet others are way ahead of us. Is it not time for the UK at least to catch up if we cannot bring ourselves to show leadership on this? The other excuse we hear is that it is too difficult. But of course, as colleagues across the chamber have already pointed out, it wasn't too difficult when it came to Russia. It wasn't too difficult when it came to Crimea. We have the legislation in place, SAMLA provisions. We could put this in place now. So I will happily give way.
I thank her for giving way. She's doing an excellent job expressing the moral outrage felt by constituents from Herefordshire to Sunderland to Sheffield that I think we all share. Does she agree with me that if it's possible for international groups to find origin fraud in goods that originate from illegal settlements in the West Bank but are incorrectly labelled as being from within Israel, it is entirely possible for the British government to do the same, and that is no valid reason to not implement these sanctions?
I thank the honourable member for his point. I absolutely agree. And of course, one of the other excuses we hear from the government is that settlement goods don't benefit from the preferential trade agreement that we have with Israel. Well, of course, that implies that it is possible to distinguish between settlement goods and non-settlement goods already under existing provisions that we should be enforcing. But of course, fundamentally, as has also been pointed out, the responsibility should be on the other foot. If Israeli exporters cannot prove that their exports do not come from illegal settlements, then they should not be able to export to us. We should be absolutely certain. We must make clear that it is unacceptable that British money should be at any risk of supporting the continuation of these illegal settlements. And so there is really no excuse. There is no excuse that we have to wait for other countries to move because they've moved ahead of us. There is no excuse that this is too technically difficult because the legal framework already exists. So what is the government waiting for? Why will they not take this step? Will the Minister recognise the absolute imperative upon the UK to take this step now? Or will we hear yet more excuses from him when he sums up today?